G'day everybody, welcome back to the farm on this absolutely gorgeous winter's day. It is an unbelievable 24 degrees out here at the moment, and this is the sort of weather we'd be expecting to see in September sometime, but it is here and it is on our doorstep and it is happening right now. So I'm going to take you guys around today. We're going to do a bit of a tour around, have a look at the crops, because it is just, as you know, if you've been following along here, it's been an absolutely terrible season. We are just so dry. It's probably about 10 degrees above average at the moment, the temperatures, and things are really hurting out there. We're starting to see our season go up in smoke at the moment, but we'll go around, we'll have a bit of a look. I'll give you guys an update of where we are and what we're looking at going forward. So I'm not going to do this in any particular order, it's just going to be whatever crop I drive past first and we'll work our way through the list. But no doubt about it, gorgeous living weather at the moment. We haven't even had to light the fire in the house the last few days, but terrible farming weather, so there's always a trade-off out there, isn't there? First stop, because it's right by the house, is canola, and did bring a shovel with me so I can have a bit of a scratch around and we can see exactly how much moisture we've got down there at the moment. I'd be interested to see. So here we are, and my first thoughts are, oh my god, look away. This is this is looking really bad at the moment. You can just tell it's all wilted up and curled up and it just doesn't look a nice colour. And you come down here, these leaves are flat on the ground. They're just soft, they're not vibrant. It just is really burning up at the moment. It's struggling so bad. All in all though, I mean, we did a good job getting the crop in. It looks like a good stand, had the potential. I guess it still has the potential to do something with some rain, but it is just really struggling at the moment, isn't it? All in all, we did a decent job getting it in. It's been grass freed. Yeah, the grasses all look very sick. It's had a good lick of urea. There's nothing, we've done our job well here. It's just Mother Nature letting us down at the moment, but let's have a scratch around down in here and see what we're looking at. Look, all in all, it's actually not quite as bad as what I thought. There is a little bit of moisture there, but the temperatures are just too far above average at the moment and there's too little moisture down in there, and they're just not able to suck it up fast enough. But it's not powdery dry, that's for sure, but there's not a lot, and you can see that, yeah, the crop is just really struggling. So what's my thoughts on what could happen from here? Well, I mean, I was out with the agronomist today and he kind of just looked away when we drove past it because it's looking so sick at the moment, but he said, oh yeah, look, it could possibly still do a ton to the hectare or something like that, which is not average. It's definitely not average. But he said it could also do 300 kilos or less. So yeah, I don't know, it's going to have to be such a stark turnaround in the season. And I said this to Dad the other day, I said, when have you ever been in such severe drought? And we are in crippling drought at the moment. It's just been nothing short of horrendous what's been served up to us this year. But when have you ever been in this bad a drought and then just overnight the season turns around and goes the other way? It just doesn't tend to usually happen. The weather pattern's not favouring us for whatever reason this year. There's no climate drivers that are indicating drought, and that's the most frustrating thing. The ocean temperatures to the northwest of the country have been seasonal to slightly warmer than average, and that's usually would indicate seasonal rainfall. To the straight west, out past WA, they've actually had quite warm ocean temperatures out there, and WA's been doing relatively okay for rain. It's just the orientation of the fronts as they come across the bight. They tend to be going to northwesterly and sliding away from the mainland, and so South Australia, Eastern SA, a lot of Victoria's been really struggling for rain, and boy oh boy does it show out here now. But you know, the east coast, the eastern third of the country is supposed to have La Nina in the springtime, starting from spring, and that's a very wet cycle. So there's absolutely nothing that indicates that we should be going through this drought, and sometimes it just comes down to luck, and we're just unlucky this year. And I talk about sea surface temperatures because the warmer the oceans, the more evaporation you get, the more moisture you get in the atmosphere, and the more chance you got of rain. So you get that nice warm moist air clashing with the cold air, the fronts that come through, and you get good rainfall. But yeah, that's not the case this year. So anyway, we'll carry on, head on to some wheat next. So this week is just absolutely murdering us. Like I said, temperature's probably been about 8 to 10 degrees above average and just no moisture down there really. So it's just very like, yeah, if it was seasonal conditions and you're getting your 14, 15 degree days, somewhere around there, then, you know, things would be hanging on a lot better, but they're burning up in a hurry at the moment. Well, this is definitely not the best of the wheat here at home, but it's not the worst, so it's probably a fair representation of how most of it looks. So it definitely not hurting as much as the canola is at the moment, and it just depends what way you look at it. If you look at it into the sun like the way I'm looking now, and the camera might not really pick it up, but you can just see the colour differences across the paddock. Looks quite wilty looking at it from this way. There's a fox out there. Unreal. Where was I? I've just lost my train of thought completely, but yeah, you can really see it from this way. When you look down this way, sort of with the sun a bit, it actually looks quite nice. But overall, we are very light on plant numbers. We've definitely had a poor germination. It's a decent enough stand. There's a crop here, don't get me wrong, but just patches like this. See, it's bare spots, bare. It's bare, you know, just bare. Worked up a bit cloddy when we put it in dry. So we did have some of the seed go mouldy in the ground. I spoke about that earlier in the season up on the side of the hill up there. So just sat in semi-wet dirt, semi-moist dirt for too long and went mouldy. It's pretty rare for that to happen, but unfortunately it did this year. So there's still potential here. I think there's still potential here. Here's another spot. Look at this here. Just, it's so light for numbers. You know, just very, very spotty germination along there. Yeah, look, the agronomist still said, he goes, oh, this could still do 3 tonne if you had the perfect end to the season, but 3 tonne to the hectare. But like I said before, it would have to be a total polar opposite turnaround of what we've seen so far this year. So we just got to keep our fingers crossed that things will turn around for us. And honestly, being a little bit light on plant numbers is really the least of our worries as we go forward, because if it stays dry, how advanced the crop is now is really our biggest friend. You know, the more advanced it is as it gets warmer and drier, the better, because you know, if it's still so small, it's still got so much growing to do before it gets to the point of actually filling heads, whereas right now it's much more advanced than if we had have sat around and tried to wait for rain. And you know, we can make the most of the little rains that we get and hopefully produce some grain out of it. So anyway, we'll have a dig around and we'll see where our moisture's at. Yeah, look, it actually doesn't feel too bad under there. There's still a little bit of moisture. There's probably a little bit more coverage in this paddock than, say, the canola, because the canola was on a vetch stubble and the paddock was quite bare. This was a crop that went 7 tonne to the hectare with wheat 2 years ago and a canola stubble. So you can see you've still got that little bit of coverage on the top of the dirt, which really, that makes a huge difference. And you can see there's still a little bit of moisture there. What I've been finding really lately with these warm days is the crops kind of look a bit, you know, rubbish by the end of the day, and then they sort of freshen up overnight because they can get a bit of moisture and it cools down. So yeah, anyway, there's the wheat. The barley I'll show you is literally just over the road, and there's actually a paddock of beans to the north of that, so we shouldn't have to go too far here. So just eyeballing the barley from over the fence and just walking across it, it looks probably the healthiest of all the crops at the moment, and that's because it's got a nice wheat stubble over the top of it from last year. It is still wilting up a little bit, but overall the barley germinated great. No dramas with the barley, and I don't really know why, because it all went in on the same first rain basically. Actually, all the barley got seeded after the first 10mm rain we got. So to me, it should have had more trouble germinating, but it just didn't. It just germinates easier, I think. Like, you could probably get 6 or 7 mil in the summer on a stubble and the barley will try and grow. Yeah, overall, I think it looks relatively good. It's still a little wilty. It's all in the same boat. I'll have a dig around with the shovel as well, but I suspect that it'll be much of a muchness down here. So yeah, that's definitely the moistest soil that I've felt since I've come out in the paddock. And like I said, it's just, you got a bit of wheat stubble lying around here, I think, which yeah, really just helps keep that bit of moisture that we've got in. The canola is definitely the worst. It's not wet by any stretch of the imagination, but it almost feels like you could, yeah, it still crumbles, but you can almost smush it into a bit of a bowl there with your hand, which is, yeah, probably why it looks the best out of the lot. But you can see she's not a real big crop yet at the moment, and this is the stuff I was driving around with the agronomist the other day, and he was saying that in like 3 weeks time this thing's going to be trying to push a head up the boot. If it has moisture, that's probably going to be the big determining factor of how fast it gets to that point. But yeah, kind of scary because it's quite a small crop at the moment. But like I said, it's a pretty decent stand of barley. Nothing wrong with the way it came out. It's had urea. It needs most of it needs a broadleaf chemical put over it to kill the bit of the vetch and some other broadleaf weeds that are growing in here. So we can't really do it at the moment because it's too warm and too dry really. You just risk damaging the crop by doing it. So we'll have to sit back and wait a little bit, but we'll just cross over the fence because we got beans straight over the other side here, and I did show you guys the beans in the last video, but we'll have another quick look and see how they're going. Beans. The beans look really good, to be honest. I mean, they're struggling for moisture like everything else, and they're not enjoying these warm days, but wow, did they come out of the ground well. It really surprises me, such a big seed like that. Nothing wrong with this stand. There is definitely some patches that I saw when I was spraying it that came up a little bit thin. They probably suffered a little bit of the same fate. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them went mouldy. I did scratch up one bean by a fence line one day and it was completely mouldy, but it was still trying to come out the ground like it was germinating. Once again, this is a fairly decent barley stubble, but we did bale straw off this last year, so it's probably not the best representation. You know, they're generally seeded fairly sparsely, beans, although I have got a pretty good stand in here. So I tend to find there seems to be, the moisture hangs around a little bit longer in beans, even in the spring when it starts to go dry. But we'll have a scratch around, see what we can see. Yeah. That feels pretty nice at the moment. I'm actually genuinely surprised that there's that much moisture left under there. I thought they'd be drying up a lot quicker than that, and considering the amount of rain we've had this year, or this winter. Yeah, hopefully these things will hang in there, because I'll explain to you what's going on with the weather and what we're looking at here. So that might be your next question is there any rain on the forecast? What's the outlook look like? Is there anything on the horizon? Yes, there is some rain on the forecast. It's forecast to start falling from tomorrow night. How much rain, you might ask? Well, from what I'm looking at, somewhere between 1 and 10 millimeters, 10 being the absolute best, I think. I'll obviously know more when they update the weather tonight, but you know, 1 millimeter won't do anything. 5, yeah, it'll help a little bit, and maybe a couple of showery days afterwards, like they're talking, that will help. 10 millimeters would just be mind explosion. We've only had that amount of rainfall in one day once this entire winter. So to even be at the point we are now in August, and to get a 10 millimeter rainfall and that be how much we've had for the month, is just, it's a long way behind seasonal. So, and tomorrow's forecast to be 25 with 45 km/h wind. So you think the canola looks crook today? It is going to be hanging on by a thread. It's going to be absolutely screaming for a rain by tomorrow. So, and it looks like potentially more fronts rolling through next week, maybe this time next week. So if we can get something to buy us a bit of time, we'll hope that one of those fronts looks good and maybe things will start to improve a little bit. So we're definitely not done. And look, these crops will hang on for a little bit longer, but every day with days like this, it is hurting them. You know, they know, like I said, they know there's not much moisture. It's starting to hurt them every day that we go by. And if you're wondering what seasonal rainfall is for us at this time of the year, it's about 50 millimeters a month, June, July, August. That's 2 inches. So we should be seeing an inch of rain, yeah, about every 2.5 weeks. So it's not a massive average. It's mid-north South Australia. 450 mil, 18-inch average rainfall. So we really need to see average every month so that we can put a little bit away for the spring. But this year we haven't even seen anywhere near our average for the winter. So I think we had pretty much nothing in April, 11 millimeters in May, 27 June, 32 or 34 last month. And you might go, oh, well, 34, that's not too bad. At least you had something. And that came over probably about 10 different rainfall events, with the biggest one of those being 5 millimeters. So you took a squirty bottle and squirted it at the ground and then left it for an hour and came back. Takes a lot of doing that to start wetting up the ground, because every time we'd get a little shower rain, we'd get a pretty warm northwesterly wind in between, and it just dried the top out again. So anyway, I think I'm going to leave this video going now. I won't end it. I'll get the camera back out tomorrow. We'll see the conditions tomorrow when it's pretty awful, and we'll keep it running through tomorrow night into Friday. We'll see how much rain falls and you guys will get it firsthand. So yeah, look, I guess to summarise, I didn't really talk a lot about yield on the barley and the beans and that, because look, it could be absolutely anything from nothing to, yeah, maybe somewhere just below average if things were absolutely perfect. So it's just such an unknown. It's just, yeah, it's a day-to-day, week-to-week scenario at the moment. All right guys, it is about 4 o'clock the next day. We'll do a bit of an update. So far, conditions today have not really been quite as bad as what they said. The wind probably not quite as bad. It definitely didn't get to 25, maybe 23, 22, 23, but anyway, we're back out in the canola, so let's have a look. Ouch! It still looks as awful as yesterday. Yeah, look, it actually freshened up pretty well overnight, and then yeah, the sun comes out and it warms up and just, yeah, starts to look awful again. But have a look at this. I think this stuff's starting to run up to flower already, if you look at that. I'm not very good on canola, second year growing it, but it shouldn't be trying to do that right now. It's just stressed out of its mind. We're a mere hours from this front coming through now. Updates on the rainfall, 5 to 15 millimeters, I think, somewhere in there. That's what we're looking at. So odds have certainly come up a little bit. We'll hope that we at least get 10. If it's a good night, we're gonna get 15. Woo! A little over 17 millimeters, can you believe it? We really finally got under one last night. Oh man, there's no, it feels so good. That's just absolutely saved our bacon last night. Wow. 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 Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of an update. Aren't things looking $1 million today compared to what they've been looking like the last couple of days? It is just a massive relief. That bit of rain has absolutely saved our bacon. And you know, one moderate rainfall event doesn't break a drought, but man, it feels good. It's been really hard sitting back the last few days watching hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds upon hundreds of hours of work going up in smoke out in the field. So we're definitely going to sit back and enjoy this now. We really need to see some more regular or a couple of more decent rainfall events to come through to sort of fix our moisture deficiencies, but there is kind of decent signals maybe for some more rain to keep rolling through, some more regular rainfall. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, but with all things rainfall, you'll believe it when you see it. Not my typical video, but I do like to do a bit of an update around this time of the year anyway, to let everyone know how the crops and the season's looking. So I'm going to leave this here. Just want to say thanks to everyone for watching. We really do appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, just consider liking and subscribing, because that really helps us out. You guys have yourselves a good one. Until next time, see ya.